Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Neurotic, Ohio. It has now been 72 hours since the launch of Battlefield 6 on October 10th, 2025. I've been playing for the last 3 days over the Columbus Day weekend, and I have reached an unfortunate conclusion. The Battlefield franchise has lost its identity. This entry doesn't feel like the series that built a community around large-scale chaos and teamwork. You know, those moments that made every match feel like a true battle. I've stuck with Battlefield for over a decade and played every major release since Battlefield 4. From Modern Combat to Cops and Robbers to both World Wars, and now we're back at Modern again. And what I see now looks like a completely different franchise wearing the Battlefield name. Since Battlefield 2042, the cracks have become impossible to ignore. With Battlefield 6, DICE seem to have abandoned the traits that made this series special. Somewhere along the line, Battlefield stopped trying to be Battlefield, started trying to be something else. Leadership drove a big part of that ship. After 2042's disastrous launch, EA put Vince Zampella in charge of the franchise's direction. Zampella co-founded Infinity Ward and shipped Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, two titles that defined modern FPS design. He then went on to found Respawn and build Titanfall and Apex Legends, fast, twitchy shooters built around fluid movement and instant action. Today, Zampella oversees Battlefield. On paper, that sounds smart, bringing a proven shooter mind to revitalize a struggling brand. In practice, Battlefield now feels reshaped in Call of Duty's image, stripped of its unique pacing, scale, and scope. That mismatch fuels my frustration. I don't want Call of Duty with bigger maps. I want Battlefield. The game that rewards squad play and coordination and provision. The game that treats destruction as part of its personality, not a background effect. Battlefield once felt weighty, immersive, and tactical. Now it plays fast, twitchy, and disposable. That's what Call of Duty is, not Battlefield. I want to break down why Battlefield 6 fails to carry the torch, and why it's just not doing it for me. I'm going to look at the three fundamentals of any multiplayer shooter. I critiqued Battlefield 2042 with the same pillars: the maps, the movement, and gunplay. And I want to compare them with earlier Battlefield titles, ones that I really enjoyed, like Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 5. But I also have to compare with its competitor, Call of Duty. Before diving in, a quick note: I'm not salty or inexperienced. I played shooters for years, and I hold a KD above 2.0 in this game. The footage in the background comes from my sessions. You can determine if I'm good or bad. I like to say I'm mediocre. This isn't about skill. It's about a franchise losing its way. Let's start with the foundation of any Battlefield experience. To explain Battlefield 6's maps, I need to remind you what Battlefield used to deliver before the series lost its soul. It stood as a technical marvel and benchmark for scale, spectacle, and immersion. When I first booted up Battlefield 4 on Xbox One, I felt stunned. 64 players, 32 versus 32, with tanks, helicopters, jets, boats, and infantry, with the vistas that you could see far past the horizon. Call of Duty could never do that. Its maps, it would be all the maps of Call of Duty in one single map of Battlefield. But that's not it. It had levolution. We had skyscrapers collapsing mid-match, storms rolling in, entire levels transforming in real time. You didn't just load into a match. You stepped into a living war zone. That identity mattered. You didn't play the hero who single-handedly flipped a match. You served as a grunt, a single cog in the roaring machine. Battlefield's magic came from the humility. You played a small part, something bigger. As a teenager, I had dreamed that DICE would keep pushing that vision. If Battlefield 4 handled 64 players, why not 96 or 128 next? Maybe someday we'd have 1,000 players across a whole metropolitan area. We'd have tanks, IVs carrying players, helicopters, jets, combat trains, boats. Even the infantry was supporting with their own trucks. It would be a truly living battlefield. That dream felt within reach when DICE announced 128 player matches with Battlefield 2042. We were finally evolving, and I believe they had scaled war itself. When I actually played the game, my illusion was shattered. The oversized maps felt empty. It had flat stretches with sparse rocks. No cover. No dynamic choke points. No flow. Open space catered to snipers and vehicle spam. On foot, you turned into a target. Moving between capture points felt like punishment, not adventure. The problem wasn't 128 players. The problem came from the maps being built for scale rather than gameplay. When the community pushed back, DICE shipped refreshes, sandbags here, containers there, but those tweaks never touched the core issue. The maps had no soul. They were boring. Players eventually blamed the player count. DICE backed off. We went away from 128 players and back to 64. Battlefield 6 doubles down on that retreat. That decision broke my heart. It doesn't just reduce player count, it signals creative surrender. A franchise that used to lead on ambition now chases safety. I won't dwell on graphics because visuals don't make a game, but we all must admit, in 2018, the peak visuals for the franchise came with Battlefield 5. Even today, in 2025, I still think it's the best looking multiplayer shooter. Despite its controversies, it looks stunning. Lighting, texture detail, atmosphere, pure artistry. With 2042 and now for Battlefield 6, the visual soul faded. The new direction favors a simplified, sterile aesthetic, flatter palettes, odd lighting, generic assets. It doesn't look awful, it just avoids beauty. It looks safe. That thought brings it back to the heart of the issue. Battlefield used to stand apart. Its maps played like sandboxes, a place that you could improvise, adapt, and create moments with your friends. No other shooter could offer this. Now the maps feel claustrophobic, funneled, and boxed in. Wide flanks gave way to lanes. Dynamic terrain and destructible cover gave way to pre-baked, repeatable set pieces. The walls still blow up, sure, but the same walls break the same way every time. We had that back in 2013. In 2025, that trick no longer sells the illusion. Everything feels static. What makes a great Battlefield map, in my opinion, is the balance of engagements. We used to have short range, mid range, long range fighting, sniper nests, mid range alleys, tight objectives that forced teamwork. They didn't just offer scale, they offered a rhythm. Every push and every death carried purpose. You climbed to earn the high ground, and you exploited those flanks that were open, and followed vehicle paths that actually mattered. A tank rumbling in the distance or a jet screaming overhead didn't just decorate the soundscape, those cues belonged to a living world. That's a real player piloting those. Now I run corridors and copy-pasted lanes. The loop devolves into run forward, die, respawn. I might as well just be playing a death simulator. Tactical positioning evaporates. Vehicle balance slips. The design reads like an intentional push towards faster, tighter, more streamlined gameplay. That leads back to his leadership. Vince Zampella helped encode Call of Duty's DNA. Fast, close quarters, instant gratification. That formula built COD. But it poisons Battlefield. Battlefield never aimed for pure speed. It aimed for immersion. You didn't feel like a superhero, you felt like a soldier. That lost balance brings us to the second pillar. Change movement and you change all of combat. In Battlefield 6, movement exposes what this franchise has become. It maps form the bones, movement supplies the muscle, the weight, realism, and flow. Unfortunately, Battlefield 6 wraps a few improvements in a bundle of regressions. Infantry first. Yes, the movement improves on 2042, but 2042 lacked a full generation behind Battlefield 5, so improvement does not mean much. The soldiers feel super floaty. I noticed this on my first impressions. You never quite connect to the ground or the environment. Your avatar glides over surfaces as if friction barely exists. Try climbing rubble or threading debris and you'll snag on invisible edges and micro ledges. Stance changes regularly fail at crucial moments. My crouch won't trigger, my prone won't engage, and arbitrary restrictions deny positions that should work. The system feels stiff and inconsistent. Jumping feels even stranger. Gravity feels like someone set it to 70%. You hang in the air way too long, drift down in a weightless arc. That look breaks the realism the art direction tries to sell. Battlefield 5 solved these problems in 2018. Soldiers carried weight. Slides, vaults, ledge grabs, and explosive knockdowns flowed together. Animations linked cleanly. The result felt grounded. Agile, without turning arcadey. Heavy, without turning sluggish. We hit a sweet spot, and we lost it. Now, how did this happen? I think it comes down to the community. Developers seem to be chasing conflicting feedback. One crowd wants advanced mobility. They want sliding, diving, mantle, zip lines. That's the COD community. Another crowd wants slow, tactical pacing, like Hell Let Loose. Battlefield now wobbles between those poles without committing. The result plays like the worst of both. Too clumsy to feel fluid, too gamey to feel real, it's just boring. Battlefield 5 showed us a middle path. Battlefield 6 did not follow. Vehicles should beat like Battlefield's heart, yet pulse barely registers. For nearly a decade, vehicle handling had drifted backwards. Battlefield 4 did not chase realism, but it nailed the feel. Tanks felt monstrous. Attack helicopters hunted like apex predators, and even jeeps carried personality. Controls responded instantly. Yes, I know, turret rotation ran hot, and physics could get a bit wacky, but that exaggeration created thrilling gameplay. Now, turrets lag behind the camera. You move your view, and you have to wait a beat for the gun to catch up. On paper, that model is more realistic. In combat, it's boring. That tiny delay steals urgency. Limited spawns and shared vehicle tickets, combined with engineers loading in with launchers and mines, turn vehicles into punching bags. You can't drive 50 meters without eating a mobility kill from a guy behind bricks. Especially on these bottleneck maps. Driving drains you instead of hyping you. Vehicles once felt like the ultimate reward. Assets worth fighting for and could swing a battle. Now they feel disposable. One bright spot, the new hitch a ride feature. I applaud the developer for adding this. It allows you to grab onto allied vehicles that creates smart, team-centric mobility. If you dropped this in 2042, it would have alleviated a lot of the pain between moving. That idea actually feels Battlefield. Even so, movement on foot and in vehicles still misses the series' old flow. The world doesn't feel like a living battlefield. It just exists, and you simply exist inside. There's no rhythm, no connection. To recover, Battlefield needs that to rebuild that connection. Control and chaos in balance, weight, and freedom and harmony. Movement should empower, not frustrate. You should feel like a soldier, not a detached camera skimming polygons without physical presence. Everything else collapses. Now for the most contentious part. The movement dictates how you enter the fights, but gunplay is going to decide how you win them. Gunplay isn't just about landing shots, it's about the feel, how the weapons respond and communicate weight, impact, and purpose through animation, sound, and control. When you fire, you should feel it. The recoil, the kick, the flashes, and sound selling a convincing illusion of force. For my entire gaming life, Call of Duty has led on gun feel. Since 2007's Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward has defined satisfying, believable gunplay for mainstream shooters. The design doesn't chase pure realism. It chases authenticity, personality, weight, and precision. 2019's Modern Warfare and the new engine, COD hit a new peak. Guns feel tactile, recoil feels predictable, and impact audio lands with authority. You pull the trigger, dangerous machine. Battlefield often looks like it's chasing that standard and never quite catching it. In Battlefield 4, I love the scale and the teamwork, but many guns within a class felt interchangeable. Battlefield 1 started to fix that with higher muzzle velocities, lower random spread, and clearer weapon identities. Battlefield 5 refined recoil patterns, improved hit reg, and leaned into specialization. That era marked a high point for the franchise. With 2042, we reset. Gunplay turned into floaty and inconsistent, disconnected from the environment, with softened feedback and an odd time to kill. That didn't reward precision. DICE seemed to design for controller-first players, not Battlefield's traditional feel on mouse and keyboard. Battlefield 6 improves over 2042, but the model still feels off. Shooting feels controlled and immediate, yet spread and hit consistency still wobble. Sometimes your shots land cleanly, other times your bullets feel like they vanished. The doubt creeps in, not because your aim slips, but because the back-end mass seems to roll against you. Platform parity adds to the friction. Historically, Battlefield favored mouse and keyboard microcontrols, fine corrections, mid-recoil, and pixel-level precision. Since 2042, the design leads towards controllers. You can feel it in aim acceleration and target snapping. The system tries to mimic COD's aim assist philosophy without fully embracing it. Console players become twitchy and inconsistent. PC players feel laggy and imprecise. The mechanics speak differently across different platforms. DICE can't decide whether to serve Battlefield's PC veterans or the fast-pacing newcomers who escape from the current state of Call of Duty. COD's dominance doesn't come from speed alone. It comes from clarity of purpose. Every bullet, every frame of recoil serves feel first. Battlefield keeps changing direction before it finishes the job. Play Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 5 back to back, and you'll feel a lineage. Deliberate steps towards realism, precision, and control. 2042 broke that chain. Battlefield 6 doesn't restore it. It's better, but not enough. The series once knew how to make guns feel powerful and satisfying. Somewhere along the line, we lost that. Combine the uninspired gunplay with floaty movement, claustrophobic maps, and you get a shooter that forgets its whole purpose. The franchise set the bar for chaos, teamwork, and immersion, and now plays catch up to games it once inspired. The guns don't feel right. The movement does not feel right. Even Frostbite's classic visual magic no longer impresses. Battlefield's problem isn't competing with Call of Duty, it's chasing Call of Duty. When you chase someone else's identity, you lose your own. Battlefield needs to stop imitating and start leading again, or I fear that it will keep drifting farther from what made it special in the first place. That's just my opinion. Please state your opinion in the comments. If you enjoy the game, keep enjoying it. I'm probably going to do an update in about 30 days, because maybe my opinion will change on the game. But just based on my first impressions over this last weekend, I'm not impressed. I really wish for more with Battlefield, and I'm afraid that maybe I'm just too old for this game anymore. Besides that, peace. I'll see you guys in the next one.